Before we get into this video, I would like to thank my patrons, Harpy, Corporal Hot Pockets, and Salvatore Di Pietro. The three of you make this channel possible, and you guys are awesome. So, before you angrily type out a 90-page essay about the Pillar of Autumn, hold on, you're right to think of her, we'll get to her eventually. Today, I felt I should ramble about the Halcyon, or more like rant, why it sucked, it sucked a lot, and why it took decades for it to not suck, and finally why the Pillar of Autumn was barely even a Halcyon after her refit. You ready? I'm ready. So, the Halcyon class cruiser is weird because it was designed for an era that had already ended, but it had the potential, keyword potential, to be one of the greatest designs in human history. When it first debuted in 2510, it was pretty much written off. It was underarmed, under-armored, and pretty damn outdated. And no, shut up, it was. It says so in the encyclopedia, and in the Fall of Reach, and in numerous other pieces of media featuring the Halcyons. Yes, some Halcyons had a superstructure that was absolutely incredible, and I'm not going to undersell it. That superstructure was insane. Just look at what the Pillar of Autumn was able to do before and after her refit. But only 1 in 5 Halcyons had that superstructure. Why was this? Well, the UNSC deemed it to be overmassed, overbuilt, and too expensive, so as a result, the one redeeming quality in the 2510 configuration of the Halcyon was only present in 20% of the cruisers. Its weapons sucked too. It had a magnetic accelerator cannon weaker than the 56 A2D4 Light Mac, a frigate-grade Mac. This was considered to be an upgrade for the Autumn, but again, we'll get to her later. How about Archer missile pods? It had 6 Archer missile pods. My friends, the Gladius Corvette, a Corvette, had 2 Archer missile pods of the same caliber. The Halcyon had only 4 more Archer missile pods as a cruiser than a Corvette. A Corvette. The only good thing it had going for it was the fact that it could mount 4 sheathed nuclear warheads. Nothing to scoff at all, but you were only getting 1 of those on a damn good day. The UNSC pretty much gave up on the ship after just a few years, and it was only reactivated when, quote, combat losses began to mount. The UNSC came up with a ship, had a ton of expenditure and material issues with it, took away its most prominent features, realized the thing had big flaws, and then retired it / gave up on it immediately. Sounds familiar. Zomwalt class. By the way, I should note, some people will point out that it had a decent carrying capacity, and I will point out this in turn. That's great and all, but it still doesn't fit UNSC doctrine. Cruisers are supposed to deploy troops to contest a planet's surface. Yes, that's part of the job, but they are a lot more than that. The UNSC's own doctrine employs cruisers as capital ships that, quote, engage and destroy enemy warships, deploy combat troops to contest planetary control, and serve as command ships for small task forces and battle groups. The Halcyon failed 2 out of the 3 jobs assigned to it. It was practically toothless in a fight. Most of them had regular, non-noteworthy hulls, and don't even get me started on their horrible reactors. Their bridges were small, cramped, and lacking in a lot of things required to command a battle group, like compatibility with smart AI. Simply put, the Halcyon sucked until 2525. When the Covenant War began and the Navy was frankly getting its ass handed to it, the UNSC immediately began to pull everything out of storage. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Even the fucking Diligence class was seen running around as late as at least 2540. Well, guess what? That everything included the very bad Halcyon. The Halcyon underwent refits, a ton of refits, that actually made it okay. I mean, for the most part, these ships could do decently in a fight under the right circumstances. In the case of the Halcyons, who had the noble 6 of superstructures, they could sustain blow after blow and continue to fight. Though, again, that was only 1 in 5 Halcyons. One notable example was actually the Pillar of Autumn prior to her 2552 refit, where she actually managed to put up a decent fight against a Covenant battlecruiser. She lost, but she also survived, and that was really what counted for most of the war. However, once again, the UNSC decided that the Halcyon was subpar, and then retired them. again. Yes, during the war in which the UNSC was losing ships left and right, they voluntarily retired dozens of cruisers because they were subpar. Again, the Diligence class, which was more than 100 years old, was seen as more viable than the Halcyon. The Diligence! So now skip ahead to 2552, the Covenant War is at its darkest, and lo and behold, the UNSC is still not fielding the Halcyon. And then the Admiralty decided to smoke something. Operation Red Flag was a go, thanks to some random potheads, and the magnificent pale horse that would carry the Spartans to victory was the currently retired Autumn. So what did they do to our fabulous girl, the Pillar of Autumn? Well, so what do you think? Well, for starters, Tim, the Mac is too weak. Throw that out and refit it with an experimental burst-firing 56A2D4 Mac. The drop pod bays, way too small. Make them bigger, a lot bigger. Also, why the fuck are the engines exposed? Cover them up, you fucking maniacs! You want a repeat of the insurrection? Also, what the hell is that bridge? Get a fucking data core in there, you assholes. That titanium plating, it is way too old. Just replace the whole thing. Get just new plates all around. You want this thing to punch above its weight class? Oh my god, you're making my life hell here. We need an additional 12 Archer missile pods, and we have to double the amount of coil gun batteries on it. At the very least, you chose the one with a good superstructure. I didn't realize that the Autumn needed so many revisions. Yeah, well, hopefully that's it. Sir, the reactors only allow the engines to put out like 10% of the modern standards. Well, replace the fucking reactor! The Autumn was refitted to the point that it practically became its own class. In fact, it did. The UNSC went on to make the Autumn class, which was based on the Pillar of Autumn's 2552 refit. And some of you might say this has redeemed the Halcyon, and no, it has not. I mean, in a way it has, but the Halcyon was still a piece of shit. That gets into the beauty of militaries. You can make a shit platform that you basically scrap immediately and still get something from it. No lesson ever truly goes to waste, because yes, you just wasted a few billion smackaroonies and years on a thing that was ultimately dog shit, but you also learned what not to do. You learned about what works, what didn't work, what mistakes were made, and what was done right, and how to repeat what was done right and avoid repeating the mistakes. This happens all the time. Just because a program or a platform is a failure doesn't mean that you cannot use the lessons gained from that failure for future projects. Just look at the American Abrams X, a proposed replacement for the older M1 Abrams tank that shows promise. Not only is it actually being considered, it is also making use of lessons gained from previously scrapped programs. Hell, Halo has examples of this too. The Spartan program can trace its roots all the way back to 2164, when humanity experimented with bioengineering protocols. In 2321, the Orion project was greenlit, using the 2164 research as a base, and various tests occurred. However, it was ultimately cancelled until it was relaunched in 2491, over a century later. It even produced actual super soldiers that were pretty effective in combat. However, the project was scrapped again in 2506. The Orion project established the base for the Spartan II program, which went on to produce excellent fighters and heroes like the Master Chief and Blue Team. However, the Spartan II program itself had its own shortcomings. It was expensive, costly, time-consuming, and the procedures were so dangerous that many of the candidates were either crippled or outright died. The Spartan 3 program condensed the Spartan 2 program into a shorter amount of time, had greater numbers, and to top that off, its augmentations were a little safer. Spartan 3s were performing on par with Spartan 2s when given the opportunity. However, most of the 3s would unfortunately die during the war in costly suicidal operations. The Spartan 4 program is easily the most successful of the programs. It was also, ta-da! Morally okay, considering every Spartan 4 is a volunteering and consenting adult who fought during the Covenant War and its succeeding conflicts. So, going back to the Autumn class, it's not the Halcyon. It's built upon the bones of the Halcyon, yes, but it is not the Halcyon. So, the Halcyon sucked, but it did, in the end, make way for some truly amazing things. What do you think of the Halcyon? And for the record, I should clarify, I love the Halcyon, I just recognize it was a piece of shit. So, that said, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, in my Discord, and I will see you in the Cosmos, friends.